product lead at Obeo, and today I will be talking about integrating Capella with requirements tool. I'm working at Obeo, so, well, for those of you who may not know the company Obeo already, we are a French company. We build visual tools for designing innovation. That is, we help creating modeling tools for system engineers, software engineers, and other domain experts in a variety of domains, electrical, transportation, energy, health, and others. And that will be it for today. So the agenda for today is as follows. First, I will introduce the problem that we are trying to address with publication for Capella. So define the scope of the problem. And then I will introduce publication for Capella, which is what we propose to resolve the challenges that are presented in the problem approach. Then I will go over the features, the existing features that already exist in publication for Capella with a bunch of demonstrations. And then I will talk about the upcoming features, the ones that are going to be released shortly. Then the planned features, the one that we know we'll be working on in the near future. And then the roadmap, what will come next. And as a surprise, there will be a survey for you to participate in the roadmap so that you can give your opinion about what we should do in publication for Capella if you're interested. And then I will do a quick recap and we will do the questions and answers as usual. Okay, so let's start with the problem approach. I've extracted a few pictures from the official Capella website. The first one here explains the viewpoint-driven approach of Arcadia with a clear distinction between the need and the solution. What's key here, what I want to pinpoint, is that need and solution are articulated around requirements. The need analysis formalizes the requirements. The architecture complies with the requirements and helps verify the feasibility of the requirements. One other picture, which is very famous in the Capella community, explains the four main Arcadia perspectives, two perspectives for the need understanding and two for the solution design. And here again, each layer is clearly tied somehow to requirements. However, the scope of Capella itself doesn't really cover requirements. Capella 7 has even removed the old requirement concept that was deprecated for ages. And of course, there is the requirement add-on that helps tying Capella with requirements, but we'll come back to that later. What's my point here is that requirements are everywhere in the design of Capella itself and of the Arcadia methodology. And finally, to just introduce the topic, this last diagram defines the scope, will help me define the scope of what I'll talk about today. It explained that using models is supposed to help information flow between all kinds of stakeholders, including requirements managers and many others. And of course, the hope of the model-driven approach to system engineering is that using models will be more efficient and more error-prone than using documents. However, it's not that easy to have all these stakeholders really collaborate over models. And even though models definitely help, in my opinion, there are still barriers to have the information flow easily between all these stakeholders, and helping them collaborate over models is still not straightforward. Now, I would like to introduce a few challenges that are the ones we are trying to address with publication for Capella. So I summarized them as a few questions. Can we help system engineers trace their model concepts with requirements and make that as painless as possible? Can we help them share and disseminate the contents of their models to better communicate with other stakeholders? Can we help system engineers verify the coverage of requirements or the coverage of their model with regards to a set of requirements? And while we are at it, would it be possible to go beyond just requirements and transpose the solution that we imagine to other domains, and not only the requirements domain, but other domains as well, for instance, verification and validation, or others like safety or anything. Okay, so these are the challenges that we are trying to tackle with publication for Capella. Before I come to publication for Capella, I'd just like to talk about a few already existing solutions that address at least part of the problem approach. Of course, there is, I already mentioned it, the open source requirement add-on that is based on rec-if format imports. It does work indeed. However, the traceability information is stored and only available in Capella. All the requirement information, or at least a great deal of requirement information, is duplicated and stored in Capella, and then the traceability information is only available in Capella itself and nowhere else, or at least not easily. So that's one solution. And we also know that there are specific ad hoc solutions to integrate Capella with requirement tools, given that this kind of tools and Capella offer APIs to manipulate their data models. It's only natural that such integrations are developed. However, what we've seen often is an attempt to have the requirement tool be the sole source of truth and to copy all the Capella model data into this requirement tool, as if each Capella element was some type of requirement. And we don't really believe in such an approach. We know this kind of approach very well because we have actually used such an approach to develop System Modeling Workbench, which is an integration of Capella with Teamcenter. But the scope of System Modeling Workbench is far larger than just tracing Capella model elements with requirements. So that was, in my opinion, justified in that case. But if you want to cover basically traceability between Capella elements and requirements, copying all your Capella models into requirement tools is not something I would recommend at all. Okay, so what would I recommend? Our proposition for today is what we call publication for Capella. So we want to propose an alternative approach that will not suffer from data duplication. So that is a strong statement from us. We believe that data duplication should be minimized and each repository should own the data that can be edited in this repository. And that's it. Regarding tracing data between repositories, we don't think that should involve duplication, but just tracing. We want to propose an approach that scales with the number of requirements, the complexity of models, and the number of stakeholders. And mostly, we want to have a solution that is easy to use, because that we believe that's really a key. We've seen workflows and manipulations that have been quite complex to try and achieve this kind of traceability objective. We want to offer something that is really easy to use and simple. Okay, so that's publication for Capella, a tool, a proprietary, commercial tool sold by Obeo that makes it possible to manage traceability between your Capella models and third-party repositories as long as they are compliant with OSLC. So, for example, Siemens Polarion or IBM DOORS-Next, or actually the whole JAS Team Server tool suite. And also, publication for Capella makes it possible to expose your models online so that the information painfully entered by system engineers in Capella can be easily consumed and used by other stakeholders. That way, we ensure a digital thread from requirements to architecture and even beyond. We'll see how. And each repository remains owner and in charge of their own data without duplication. So these are really single and, however, integrated sources of truth. And we believe that it improves communication and collaboration to have an online repository that exposes the Capella models, where everybody can, as long as they are allowed to, come and consult the content of Capella models. Okay, let's go over some of the features of publication for Capella. The main feature, well, there are two use cases covered by publication for Capella. So the first feature, the first use case we cover is the exposition of models online. So Capella models get published by system engineers from Capella to a server that exposes these models online through a web browser interface that can be easily browsed by any stakeholder. So I believe that without further ado, we'll make a quick demonstration. Just a few words to stress the fact that this is much more than just a static HTML export, because it has a built-in access control, which means that you can manage who can see which model and who can also modify which model. There is search features. There is, of course, the traceability support that makes it possible to see the trace links and use them online. And also it's a supported solution by Obeo. So just for this first use case, let's make a first demonstration. So this is a video that shows how you can browse a publication for Capella. So first of all, you log in, and then you reach a page where you can see a number of what's called projects. Projects in publication for Capella are the place where you can publish one or several Capella models. Each project has its own access control. So we are going to see that for a single project, you can go to the settings and define who's the owner, whether the project is private, which means that you have to define who can access it, or public, which means that anybody with a login can see the project. And then for each project, you have three teams: the administrators of the project, the contributors of the project, and the viewers of the project. The contributors can edit and modify the links. The viewers can see the content of the project, and the administrators can do everything, including modify the settings and all that. So you can see that I'm adding John Doe as a viewer, and then I will be removing it from the viewers and adding it again to the contributors team to just come back like as was before. And that's it. You manage the access control very easily like that. And when you go to a single project, inside this project, you have one or several Capella models published. So now we are within a single project, and we are browsing the traditional Capella example, the in-flight entertainment system. So if you know the in-flight entertainment system sample that is delivered with each version of Capella, you know that it has a very thorough documentation, which is a very best practice of Capella that I urge you to adhere to, respect, and follow. So, of course, this rich text documentation that is entered in Capella is also available online. As you can see, you have the all the documentation of your Capella model available here. And here I'm interested in a specific diagram, so I go and click on this diagram. It's a bit small, so I maximize the diagram to see it full screen. And then in the diagram, I can navigate to a function just by clicking on that. For this function or any other object, you can see that the semantic browser information is available just as in Capella, with the addition of this OSLC links panel where you have the traceability with third-party repository artifacts like requirements. So I will come back to that in the next video. But basically, that's what you can do online. And of course, if you are looking for something specific, you have a search feature. You can just type some words in the search bar on the top to find something. And if you have a more complex search to perform, then you can use the advanced search tab to enter your criteria, any kind of label. You can filter by model and by type of object. Here I'm just looking for a logical function or a logical component maybe. So I select these types and I search for store. Actually, there is no component, just functions with the store in their name. So here is the function I was looking for, or maybe it was this one. This is the search feature, which is very widely used by our current customers. Okay, so that's the video for the first feature and use case, the exposition of Capella models online. Now I will come back to the slides. Okay, so that was the first demonstration. then you can see that, well, this addresses how system engineers can share models and traceability data with different stakeholders. Any stakeholders can access the website. It's far easier than having to install Capella, retrieve the Capella model, make sure you have the right dependencies, and open the project within Capella, which can be long if you have large projects. Here you just go online and the models are available as long as access control is defined for you to be allowed to access it. Okay, next feature is, of course, the traceability with requirements. That's the core feature and the first one that was put forward. So publication for Capella makes it possible to manage traceability by creating and synchronizing traceability links between Capella and third-party repositories and the online server that is the one that exposes the models online that we've just been browsing in the previous video. The system engineer, I will just move forward to a demonstration because an image is worth 1,000 words. So let's go. We'll see it in action immediately. So I will show the demonstration twice. So first, I will show the demonstration of the traceability feature with a third-party repository, which is Polarion, an ALM edited by Siemens. So basically, it's been so fast, I will come back to the beginning of the video. So on the left of the screen, you have Capella, and on the right of the screen, you have the Polarion website. And basically, here you are the system engineer. You want to trace an element of your Capella model with a requirement stored in Polarion. What you will do is just take the requirement from the browser and drop it within your Capella model in the diagram like that. It's been dropped on a function. And here it's been dropped on a component. So each time the artifact is imported in Capella, or basically a placeholder for this artifact, and a traceability link is created within your Capella model so that the information is stored. There's just a tiny difference I want to show again. The first time we do the drop, the link is created immediately. We dropped on a function. The second time, the link is created after the user selects a link type. So this is just to show that all what happens when you drop a requirement from Polarion into Capella is configurable, and you can define for each type of Capella element what kind of link you want to create when you drop, or if there are several types of links, then the user will have to choose the type of link they want to create. That's in the advanced use cases where you have defined different semantics for your links, and you want to make sure that you fulfill a certain semantics in your links between functions or components and requirements. Okay, so once you've done that, the traceability information is available in your Capella model, and then you have to publish your Capella model as usual for the information to become available online. So we are publishing here the in-flight entertainment system model. And as soon as this has been published, you can see that the traceability information becomes available as well in Polarion. So we have added in Capella 2 links between this Polarion requirement and the in-flight entertainment system and the function run gaming service. And this information becomes available in Polarion as well as in, of course, the publication for Capella website. So if you hover any link in Polarion, you will have the preview of this object in publication for Capella. And here you can see we are previewing the in-flight entertainment system, which is the counterpart of your Capella element. So that's the demonstration for Polarion. I just want to show the same kind of demonstration, but for another repository, just to show you that the user experience doesn't really vary depending on the third-party repository. So here, the same kind of user experience with doors next. Once again, you just drag and drop from the third-party repository, and it creates a requirement in your Capella model. If you drag and drop on a component and you have configured differently, then you are asked which kind of link you want to create. And that's it. Then you will publish the information. Oh, by the way, you can see that this traceability information is integrated as you would expect everywhere in Capella, especially in the semantic browser where you can see which elements are traced to which objects. And when you publish the model to the publication server, the information is getting synchronized between all the repositories and becomes available in Doors Next as well. So let's just move forward a bit. And if you refresh your element and you select this requirement, you can see that it is satisfied and traced by the functions and components that are here. And same as before, the preview shows what you would expect. So these are really two identical demonstrations with two different repositories, just to show that the tool is really not specific to a specific repository, but generic. Okay, let's come back to the slides. Okay, so this second demonstration, we've seen the system engineer doing a drag and drop to create trace links. Sincerely, I don't believe there is anything easier, or it's actually as easy as one would expect. There is also palette tools and other tools in Capella to manipulate these requirements or artifacts that are dropped. As you would expect, it's all integrating using the usual Capella best practices, I would say. We've seen the system engineer using different link types, so you can create really different link types, and that can be configured based on what kind of element you have in Capella and what kind of link you want per element. And then the system engineer, of course, can publish the model so that the information becomes available online. And that's when he publishes that the traceability information is synchronized with all repositories. In the third-party tools, we've seen that the links can be visible. We haven't had the time here to show it, but of course, these links can be edited as well online in the third-party tools or in the publication for Capella website. You can add or delete links as well and synchronize them with Capella itself. I didn't want to go over all the details of the functionalities in here, but I can show it later if there are some questions. So I believe this does cover the first question, the first challenge that I mentioned. How do system engineers easily trace their model concepts with requirements? As I mentioned, drag and drop is very nice to use, and it's been very well received by our users when we have introduced it in the tool. Okay, let's continue. We want to make use of that traceability. So there is actually nothing specific in publication for Capella to exploit, to use, to extract information from the traceability data. Actually, why is that, and why am I talking about such a feature? There's nothing specific in publication for Capella for that. Actually, in Capella and the ecosystem, there's already everything a system engineer would need to extract information. I'm thinking specifically on Python for Capella or M2Doc, which are two great tools to extract and manipulate your Capella models and to produce documents from your Capella models. And these do actually work quite well with Capella plus publication for Capella. Whenever there are traceability information in your Capella models, it's easy to extract it from your model with Python for Capella or M2Doc and use it in your documents or in your Python scripts. So let's see an example of that. We'll see another demo video. Let's go. So here we are in Capella, and with the publication for Capella add-on and the Python for Capella add-on. And here I have a quick and dirty Python script, which is supposed to build a traceability matrix assuming that the rule I want to check is each leaf function in my logical architecture should be traced to at least one requirement, and each requirement should be traced to a function. So I have this script that is, thanks to Python4Capella, labeled as follows, and it is enabled for what is called an artifact repository. So an artifact repository, what is it? It's the traceability object where we store the traceability information. So if you right-click on this element, since our script is configured, you will see that the script is configured with a label traceability coverage LF for logical functions. So that's what you get in your menu. And that's really something each system engineer can do with Python4Capella scripting and getting these additional menus within Capella itself. And then when you run the traceability coverage report command, the video is too small, so it's cut, but it produces a report, a coverage report here, an HTML report, but it could be an Excel report, of course, it's as easy. And well, you can see this is what you would expect from a traceability matrix. Basically, you have on the left horizontally the functions with the hierarchy of functions. And vertically, you have all the requirements. And then I have just highlighted in orange the functions that are not traced, or the requirements that are not traced. And for the functions that are properly traced, you can see even the link type that is used. If there are several, you will have several. Since it's been generated from Python, I also can use the information to have actual links. So when I click on any of these objects, I navigate to the associated web page, either in Publication4Capella or in the third-party repository. Here it is the Doors Next repository. So yeah, just a bit of fun to show Python4Capella in action together with Publication4Capella, which covers the how can I use this traceability data from within Capella. Okay, so that's it for this video. I will come back to the slides now. So we've seen the system engineer in Capella configure the reporting and generate a report. I believe there is a last video I want to show. I forgot to show it before, so I will do it before I forget. Sorry about that. Just a small feature regarding the first topic. When you're in Capella, it is also possible to navigate to the online counterpart of your Capella model elements, which is, well, it's nice to do that. You right-click on the function and you can see it online. So you have this show online entry point, and it takes you to the web page on Publication4Capella. That's not so useful for functions or components, but that's much more useful for requirements, because if you show online the requirement, you will get to the third-party repository, which is having all the information you'd like to have on your requirements. So that's a way that system engineers can easily get all the details of the requirements they've dragged and dropped from directly the third-party repository. Okay, back to the slides now. So we've seen the third challenge covered by using Python4Capella, and the same would go with M2Doc. It's as easy to extract the information with M2Doc as it is with Python4Capella, and you can produce nice reports. What's important is that just these tools, if you're used to them on plain Capella, it's as easy to use them with Publication4Capella in addition. So you will get all the traceability information available and usable for free. There is one last challenge that we haven't seen yet, but actually I've already talked a little bit about all that. The user experience of creating a link by drag and drop is actually not at all tied to requirements. So this does also work with all kinds of third-party artifacts, and Polarion or a Jazz team server have the possibility to manage not only requirements, but also change requests or change test cases or other VNV concepts, or change management concepts like issues, tasks, and change requests. And all these can be traced to model elements just the same way by plain drag and drop. So the artifacts you drag and drop are not only requirements. It can be anything, any type of requirement, and they can be traced thanks to this approach as easily as requirements, which is nice because you are interested to prepare your VNV campaigns, for example, by making sure all your capability, all your functional chains are traced to at least one test case that will verify it, and so on and so forth. So you can imagine whatever rules you want, the tool will be here to support them. Okay, just a few words about the deployment of all that. We propose either an on-premises deployment, where you purchase the tool and then you install it on your own server within your own infrastructure, or in the cloud, within the Cloud for Capella Obeo offer, where Obeo manages the cloud infrastructure. So the on-premises deployment looks like that. Basically, you have an add-on to install in each Capella instance that you use, or SMW instance for that matter. You have a server to deploy in your IT infrastructure to host the publication backend, the server where all the information gets published. And then this server can be accessed over HTML and a web browser by any stakeholder to browse the content of the models. And this server exchanges information for the traceability with third-party repositories, so ALM and requirement management systems. For the cloud offer, it's mostly the same, except that the server is deployed in a cloud infrastructure hosted on AWS and managed by Obeo instead of in your own IT infrastructure. That's it for the deployment. I just wanted to cover that very briefly. So we've seen the existing features. Now I will talk very quickly about the upcoming features, planned features, and then the roadmap, and that's where I will need your help to determine where we should go next. Okay, so the upcoming features. Well, we are going to release shortly a new version of Publication for Capella that will bring support for OpenID Connect. This has been a very much requested feature that, of course, improves security and makes it possible to support single sign-on. So that's one of the major features of the next release. This next release will also introduce a new way of creating links. I showed you the creation of links by drag and drop. It's very nice and easy. There are a few shortcomings, though, that we resolve thanks to this new feature. So basically, you will be able to create the links by copying an artifact, either in Polarion or DOS or whatever repository you use, and then going to Capella, selecting your component, following function or whatever, and Control-V to paste. And that will just create the link as if you had dragged and dropped the requirement or artifact in on this component. The shortcomings are that copy-paste is well supported in cloud environments, whereas drag and drop is more difficult if you are using a remote desktop, because remote desktop prevents dropping from outside of the remote environment. And a few shortcomings like that are resolved thanks to copy-paste. So I'm really impatient to see that deployed. Then we have miscellaneous improvements like displaying the diagrams in the model tree, because for now the diagrams are only displayed in a specific part of the model tree, which is called the representations per viewpoint. And many users requested that these diagrams appear like in Capella as well in the model tree. So we've done that. And we have also worked on improving the properties view, because for now they were not really useful and not very nice. So that's improved a lot in this next release. And more, including new options on the SLC associations and several other minor stuff. I'm mentioning all that because, by the way, the development roadmap of this tool is driven by our customers' feedback. So, for example, the support for OpenID Connect is something that we've made because many customers requested it. And the same goes for the creation of links using copy-paste. Several customers had complained about a few shortcomings with the drag and drop. And so we've come up with this solution. And the same goes for the diagrams in the model tree or the OSLC association options. All these are here because customers have asked for it. So let's continue that way and drive our roadmap with the help of our customers and users. So the planned features are in the same idea. They are here because customers have been asking for them. So this next feature is having the OSLC preview in the web user interface of publication for Capella. So that means that whenever you will hover a link in publication for Capella, there will be this preview that will show up as one would expect. It was missing until now, but it's going to be done in the next iteration of the development for publication for Capella. We will also improve the user experience when publishing. You've seen that when you do a publish, you just get a pop-up telling you, okay, the data has been sent to the server and that's it. We want to improve that user experience to be able to provide better feedback to the users. And more specifically, it's actually groundwork to prepare having a live or almost live connection between Capella and the publication server, which is necessary to support features that we want to add in the tool in the future that will make it possible to be notified when something happens online and directly notify the system engineer if they're interested, for example. We will also work on broadening the compatibility matrix because for now we are officially compatible with Polarion and the IBM Jazz suite. We know unofficially that we are compatible with other third-party repositories, but we want to make it official. So we are working on making that official and testing the compatibility with as many third-party repositories as possible. So what we have in mind for now is to achieve that with Jira, with JAMAConnect, with CodeBeamer. And if you have any other in mind, you'll be welcome to suggest them in the chat. This is not a commitment. We don't know whether we will actually be compatible with any or all of these tools. So we are working to see how it goes. And of course, we want to be compatible with as many repositories as possible. So we'll try and make sure we succeed, but it may take time depending on each specificity of each tool, basically. Okay, these are for the planned features. Now the roadmap for the tool. Well, the roadmap here is basically a list of topics that we have on the table and that we want to work with, but we have an idea of the priorities, and here I will ask you to participate because, well, we'd like your feedback to determine where it's more important to go first and what can be postponed and what really needs to be done fast because it's very much needed. So you should be able to actually answer the first question, which is how much do you want better version control? Version control will include the capability to baseline published models online, create and use branches, compare models and model objects version and all that. Then the second question, I will leave it open so you can answer later, no problem. The second question we'll ask is whether you're interested and how much you're interested in global configuration management, which is something that is very much anticipated by our IBM Jazz team server users. So how much do you want and need global configuration support? It would make it possible to integrate better with the IBM Jazz team server tool suite or any other tool suite that is compatible with global configuration. Global configuration makes it possible to actually share configurations between several repositories and make sure the links you create between repositories are valid only for specific configurations. It's a very useful feature, also very complex. So this is for the second question. Then I will open the third question. How much do you want model review capabilities? Model review capabilities would help stakeholders and system engineers work together on models. And stakeholders could comment and discuss the model's contents, and system engineers would also discuss online or even in Capella, be notified of questions and comments that happen online, and so on and so forth. So it's a very large and broad topic, but something that we're interested to go to in the future. So fourth question is, how much do you want better tooling to analyze and report? Basically, are you satisfied with using Python for Capella or M2Doc as I showed earlier, or do you think it would be useful to have more directly in the tool integrated, either in Capella or maybe online or both? And this kind of feature would be useful, and how much? Okay, the last question is about the broadening of the compatibility matrix. So are you interested in JAMAConnect, CodeBeamer, Jira, or any other? In which case, please use the chat to tell us which one. Your answers and comments will be very precious to us to understand where we should try and move and what's really of interest to you, users, customers, and prospects. Okay, that's it for the roadmap. Now is the conclusion. So a quick recap. We've seen how you can expand the audience of MBSE by exposing your models online, thanks to Publication for Capella. We've seen how you can create and maintain traceability links easily, either in Capella or online. We've seen how you can also use this traceability information for reporting. We're using either Python for Capella or M2Doc. We've seen the deployments that can be on premises or in the cloud. We haven't seen, but I tell you that all this is, of course, compatible with Team for Capella, because Team for Capella is very widely used in the Capella community. And of course, the two tools work together smoothly. And we've seen, as you're doing with the poll, that you can contact us to influence the product roadmap. And that's it for the takeaways that I wanted to pinpoint. Now, if you are interested to try, well, just go there, and there's a free trial. You just contact us through the form at this page, and we'll be happy to provide a free trial and discuss with you about your needs and how the tool fulfills them or not, if that's the case. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. And now it's time for the Q&A. So will the slides be available after the session? Yes, of course, as usual, they will be available, and you can put your hands on them as all the slides and the video of the presentation will be available. Is there any plan for integration with CodeBeamer or JAMAConnect? Well, yes, there are plans. As you can see, we are planning and working on that. Well, I cannot tell you how it will turn out, but it's definitely in our plans. Okay, the next question. Let's see. What about the versioning of model and requirements? Can we trace the model to a version of a requirement which we created the link at time? Our traces are always between the latest versions. Okay, that's a very interesting topic, and I can already see that Adil Yilmaz, who asked it, is probably quite mature on the problematic. So currently, Publication for Capella maintains a trace between the latest version of a Capella model element and the latest version of the requirement. What we include in one of the topics that are in the poll, the improvement of tooling to manage the traceability information, is exactly this kind of thing. Be able to keep track of which version of the requirement was traced and react to changes, or make sure we only trace to a specific version if that's the case. We have already some level of support for that because we have already some level of support for the global configuration. So if you are using DOS Next, it's already possible to work in a single global configuration and make sure the model you publish in this configuration is traced in the scope of that specific configuration and nowhere else. And that's all I can say for now. We are well aware of that, that question. Okay, if you are using Git for storing a model, would you still continue to do that with publication for Capella? Nice question, Tony, and definitely yes. Publication for Capella is not a repository that will hold your models. It's not the purpose of publication for Capella to store your model versions, and that's the scope of Git. Git does that very well, and it's quite easy integrated with Capella and so on, so it's quite easy to use and very robust as well. Publication for Capella has a version control management, but it's a version control management dedicated to the data that gets published online. It is not the same as the models that you are managing within Capella. So you would continue using Git for managing your models, because the models you edit in Capella are not the same thing as the data you expose on the server online. Let's see. What are the versions of Capella that would work with this? So we are compatible with Capella from version 1.4 to version 7. And we make sure we keep compatible with every new version that comes out. So I think that will answer the question. Basically, any version of Capella is compatible. Okay. Is the relationship from the requirements management system to Capella one-to-many? In other words, can I have multiple Capella models realizing the same requirements? Yes, absolutely. You can. It's actually many-to-many. You can have several Capella model elements linked to a single requirement or a single test case or a single artifact. And you can have many artifacts linked to a single Capella model element. So that's absolutely feasible. And you can even have links across several different Capella models and so on and so forth. One thing that would be interesting in publication for Capella is to carry forward the links when you do a transition from system to subsystem. That's also something we have in mind, but that's not supported yet. Okay, let's see the next question. By looking to your model, what if the number of requirements are around 200? Is there any visibility filter so that I can only see in the Capella view the links I'm interested in? Yes, of course, you have so I'm not sure what exactly you are referring to, Adil. If that's the little quick and dirty experiment of the traceability matrix, then of course the point of this Python for Capella experiment was just to show how easy it is to extract data and produce anything. So I took the traceability matrix as an example. I'm well aware that traceability matrices in the real world with large data sets need filtering and this kind of things. So of course you would need something more advanced in that regard. But within Capella, you can support many more requirements than 100 or 200, and you can sort them. In a diagram, you only display the requirements that you want, and you can also group them, organize them in packages or by document if you're interested, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I think that is answered. Next question. My God, there are many questions. How to integrate diagrams and not requirements in Capella into Polarion, and what needs to be done for it? So that's an interesting question. It's definitely possible to link a diagram, a Capella diagram, to a requirement, in which case the link will appear in Polarion, for example, or in DOS. And if you hover the link, you will see the diagram. One thing, however, to understand is that each repository manages its own data. So in Polarion or in DOS, you are able to create a baseline, and Polarion or DOS guarantees that this baseline is something that is immutable and cannot change. To guarantee that, they make it so you can only baseline data that is owned and stored on this single repository. So to integrate diagrams in Polarion for now, you need to copy the diagram and save it within Polarion itself. Otherwise, you will have just the capacity to hover the links and preview the diagrams, but you won't be able to take advantage of having the diagram in the Polarion database itself to use it in reports or things like that. So that's why we are interested also in working on version control in the publication for Capella side, to be able to baseline our model versions and make sure that we can provide at any time any given diagram for any baseline that you might need. Okay, I hope that answers your question. I move to the next. I don't know how much time we have, but okay. So do we support the global configuration feature with IBM DOS Next? Well, not fully. We have a first level of support, but it is for now quite limited. It makes it possible to work with some limitations, and it's absolutely not a complete support of the global configuration. So this is why we are asking in the polls the question of, are you interested really in having a broader support of the global configuration? But first, I'm interested to have feedback about what already exists in the tool, because it makes it possible to work with IBM DOS Next using the global configuration. It's not just as simple as one would like. Okay. Then, any experience on projects using publication for Capella with Valispace as requirements management tool? So no, sorry, I will just write this down, and we'll add it to the list of tools that we should take into consideration to broaden the compatibility of publication for Capella. Thank you for that. Next question, could you please show the workflow from Capella to Polarion? That from Capella to Polarion, I'm not sure which workflow you mean, but if you go back, maybe this question was asked too early. I have shown in the videos, I believe, how you drag and drop from Polarion to Capella, then you publish online, and then the information becomes visible in Polarion. So I think that's the workflow from Capella to Polarion. What I haven't shown is when you're in Polarion, you can also add a link or delete a link to any Capella model element. I don't have the time to show it here, but if you're interested, just get in touch with us and we'll set up a dedicated demonstration with all the features. And I don't really have the time today. Okay, what are the relationships between the Polarion requirements and the Capella model elements? I saw satisfy and trace. Okay, so actually, this is defined by configuration. So satisfy and trace are defined in the OSRC standards, but it's very easy to define your own link types with whatever semantic you want and use these specific link types. So we have IBM DOS Next has its own link types for the traceability between requirements and architecture elements, like the ones exposed by publication for Capella. So we use the IBM DOS Next ones when we work with IBM DOS Next. We use ad hoc ones when we work with Polarion, and it's basically completely configurable and very easy to do so. Okay. Okay, so one last question. Is it possible to create bulk links? For example, 3 selected requirements linked to a single model element. Yes, it is possible. But currently it's not, no, it depends what you where. So if you drag and drop, you have to drag and drop one at a time, but it's not taking a lot of time to drag and drop one, then take another, drag and drop it if you have all of them on a single page. whereas it's complicated to select multiple things in a web page and drag and drop them in a single operation. If you use the online interface that I haven't shown in the web UI, unfortunately, then you can select multiple requirements in one go and create all them in bulk. So I would say that the answer to your question is yes, most of the time. Many thanks, everybody, and talk to you soon. Bye.